The Londonderry Town Council meeting. Today is May 20th at 7 p.m. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's please remain standing. It is Military or Veteran Appreciation Month of May. So I'd like to just take a moment of silence for those that have served this country so that we can continue to do what we're doing. So please be moment of silence. Please be seated. All right, folks. So again, to kind of pivot with what I had said earlier, May is Military Appreciation Month. So Londonderry truly wholeheartedly supports our veterans, those who have served, those who have been wounded, those who have sacrificed for this community, for this nation. And I really just want to take a moment to remember those veterans that have sacrificed. So if you're a veteran in the room, if you could please stand, and I just want to give a round of applause to those that serve their country. So. All right, thank you very much for your service to our country. So moving on, those who may not know about a Purple Heart. Purple Heart is a distinguished award for those who are wounded or killed in action. It is the oldest military award that is given. It's for bravery, heroism, in defense of in defense of our nation. So I say with great honor, or I ask with great honor, if there are any service members who are recipients of Purple Hearts, if you could please rise and be recognized. Thank you. So what I would like to do is we have a proclamation. It was brought to my attention by actually a veteran that serves our community. Thank you. About being a Purple Heart community. We all see those signs driving through other towns, and the question was, why is Londonderry not a Purple Heart community? We support our veterans. We support those that sacrifice for our nation. Let's do something to try to give a little recognition for them. So with that, let me read this proclamation. The Town of Londonderry Proclamation establishing Londonderry as a Purple Heart community. Whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in present use, established by General George Washington in 1782. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, MOPH, is to foster an environment of camaraderie among the recipients of the Purple Heart Medal, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives to benefit veterans, and to provide service to all veterans and their families. And whereas the sacrifices made by men and women in the armed forces of the United States should be honored and remembered by the communities they serve. And whereas the citizens of Londonderry recognize this extraordinary sacrifice made by the members of our armed forces and wish to express their appreciation of those sacrifices in a meaningful way. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed by the Londonderry Town Council that Londonderry is a Purple Heart community, and urge all citizens to honor the service and sacrifice of our brave men and women in uniform, signed this 20th day of May, 2024, at the town of Londonderry, New Hampshire, and to witness therefore the seal and signature of the town of Londonderry and its town council. So with that, if comfortable, we would like to ask if there are recipients of the Purple Heart Medal would like to come up, no pressure, and we would like to take a picture with them and present this proclamation, if that's okay. If not, that's fine. Well, you guys all right with that? Sure. All right. So,
Thank you, gentlemen. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
again, thank you for your sacrifice to our nation. Thank you to the veterans that have served. Moving on in our agenda. So I'm going to open up public comment in a minute. Just a couple of things I'd like to say prior to that. We're going to have really kind of two public comments, similar to the last time we had public comment. We're going to have the first part of public comment is going to be discussion on the petition warrant article number 19, which is regarding the recording of the boards and committee meetings and scheduling of meetings. And then we're going to have general public comment as well. So that first part, I did have the library director request to speak before the council. So I'm going to open up public comment and have Aaron Matlin come up real quick and provide the council with an update. And then, like I said, we'll transition to the citizens petition discussion. Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last Thursday on May 16th, I arrived at work to a beautiful waterfall feature that had presented itself in the building. It was toward the back of the building. It appears a part of our HVAC piping system, and Dave Wally can speak to this as well, had come apart, thus opening up the pipe and having water spill everywhere. We're all cleaned up now. The area is open, available to the public. Just a quick glance of our losses and situation. We had 4,554 items were removed from the shelves and assessed. That means all those items that were wet or could potentially have gotten wet, we had to take off the shelves and pile up on tarps. And I believe, Kelly, you have some pictures? Oh, so that's the damage of the area where the tile broke down and all the water. 1,670 items were damaged, scanned, bagged, and placed in our study rooms to be assessed by an insurance agent that will come out. So that was our essential loss of our collection. And then 2,884 items were sorted and then reshelved. And those were items that we had taken off to look at, make sure that they were okay, and then being able to put back. We had 42 shelves, kick plates, and wire bookends were removed, cleaned, and stored to put back. And then 160 large steel bookends were also removed, cleaned, and stored. So that was the pile of books that we took off the shelves to assess and obviously inventory for damage. So I just want to publicly thank, obviously, Mr. Wally and his DPW department. They were very quick to the scene to help us get it under control. He contacted our HVAC company, E&E, and they came out right away to fix the problem. Right after that, it was like worst case scenario, but the best timing for everything. ServPro of Derry and Londonderry came to set up drying equipment and help us actually remove the items from the shelves. And then we've been working with Primex, the town insurance, to get everything kind of assessed and figure out what our next steps are. I also really want to thank my staff. They were amazing during this whole process. The minute it happened, it was like, what do we do? How do we fix this? What do we have to do? You know, what's our next steps? No complaints. Everybody was superly fantastic, and I really appreciated that because it was a stressful situation, and they all handled it fantastically. So I certainly appreciate them. And but we're open, and we're doing well, and we're back in business. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So real quick, thank you, Aaron. Just as a reminder to everyone, during this period of public comment regarding warrant article 19, I'm going to allow everyone or those who wish to speak to come up once and only once. During the second period of public comment, you are able to come up again once and only once as well. And with that, I'll open public comment for the discussion on petition warrant article number 19, amend Londonderry Municipal Code Title 1, General Code 1, Section 8.13 Alpha, recording board and committee meetings and scheduling of meetings.
Yeah, I'd like to address something first here.
Yes, please.
It's very important as we're doing these things that we actually address them with accurate information. It was brought to my attention that in the local newspaper, it talked about how with the planning board piece, I said, well, we haven't done it any differently in 30 years, so why should we change? What I asked Cameron to pull the minutes, because someone wrote a letter saying that I said this too, but let's pull the minutes, and here's exactly what I said. We are a quasi-judicial state statute regulated board. Attorneys advise public comment is a good idea, and public comment isn't a good idea, and public comment is on every ordinance and regulation and at every public meeting. If this is done because of public comment, it has been resolved. The way it was stated doesn't tell why it's a good idea after 30 years of no lawsuits, where elected boards in the states have multiple lawsuits. The most recent one being in Brookline for $610,000. Now the developer can build whatever they want. Not saying that we should do anything, but we need to do much deeper investigation onto why this is a good idea or not. You are introducing topics that should not be influenced by others. Let the people go through the process of a public hearing. Make your decision on what people are representing to you and not based on innuendos and rumors. That's one particular piece that it was inferenced in another way, but that's what was said at the meeting. Something else was stated at the meeting, the last meeting we had. Someone got up and made the statement, and I checked the minutes, that the town charter's been revised 6 times since 2020. In fact, the town charter has been revised 7 times since 1996 and 1 time since 2020. If we're going to make comments, you got to get the facts right. Stop making things up that didn't happen. So if you're going to make statements, make sure you're accurate.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please. Thank you.
I wasn't sure.
Good evening.
Good evening. Deb Paul, 118 Hardy Road. I am the citizen who put this petition forward. The reason that I did this is because a lot of the meetings that are held at night, there are people who can't make the meetings because they have small children. They want to participate. They want to be part of it. And they can't. They just can't come. And they can at least watch them. Or if you're in another board, you can watch another meeting to know what's going on. So, for example, if you are on planning board, it would be smart to watch traffic safety meetings. So you would know what areas the people are coming and talking about, and the developers say there's no problem. But yet at the traffic safety, there's been people who have been talking about it. So it helps people know what the other citizens in the town and what's going on in the town. And that was the reason for it. For example, this week alone, conservation didn't get recorded, and nor did the utility meeting get recorded. And those are 2 big committees, and they were not recorded. So I think just so people know what's going on, not just in the paper, not just word of mouth, not just social media, that they could sit and see what actually happened, hear the dialogue that went on in the meeting, the conversation, and have a better understanding of the whole picture of the meeting as opposed to a snapshot or just a cliff note of it. And that was the reason that I put that out there, because there was times that I would have loved to have gone to one meeting and I couldn't because there was another meeting going on at the exact same time. And so therefore I had to pick and choose. And I was interested, but I'm not going to sit there and, to be honest, I'm not going to read all the minutes. And the minutes don't really tell you everything. They're kind of real short version synopsis of what happened. And so that is the reason why I put it out there. If you have any questions as to why I did it, ask me. That's pretty much all of it.
What was the vote?
I'm sorry?
What was the vote?
Oh, may I answer?
Please.
I'm sorry. I think it was 75% of the people who came out to vote. It was over 3,000 people that asked to do this. I think people want to be involved in their town government. They just find it difficult with everything going on in their lives, and it's just hard. And so that's the whole reason behind this, or having the time at an earlier time. It's just so that people can participate more. You want to encourage. I mean, everything I ever see is, let's get people involved. After all, as counselors, you're supposed to listen to your constituents and your residents to understand what they want to hear. So they come out and they vote and they tell you. They come here, they tell you, and they expect that you're going to kind of do what they're asking, or at least have a public dialogue where they know how you got to saying no. You know, just saying no is great, but how did you get there? Like, what were the reasonings behind it? And I've probably used my time up now.
No, you have a couple minutes left, and I know we don't typically get in a Q&A, but I would like to just kind of ask a couple questions, if I may.
Sure.
Being that you're the petitioner. So one of the reasons why I wanted to lay out these warrant articles and have hear the why is, what's the reason behind it? Help us understand. Because as you recall during deliberative, that was really the only time that we had an opportunity to hear about it. It wasn't through the budget workshops. There wasn't great discussion, and the warrant articles were written in a rather ambiguous way, meaning they could be interpreted like one person's reasonable time for this warrant article specifically. This one person's reasonable time who might work second shift or overnight shift or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's really what my why is. So can you help me understand what what you mean specifically as a petitioner, what a reasonable time is?
Absolutely. A reasonable time is where the majority of the public could attend. Mm-hmm. So it would be an assumption that most people work 9 to 5. So after, the commute. So that is why I believe most of our meetings do start at 6:30, 7 o'clock, because that is a reasonable time in which the majority of the population could show up at these meetings. And I think that's what we want. We want to encourage people to come and let you guys know what they're thinking, or not you, but anybody on any board and committee know what they're thinking, or if they have a question or a problem. To
Mr.
me,
Chair, can I ask a question about clarification about this?
Please.
So when I read this, I read meetings to insert the words "and shall be recorded" after the words "shall meet at the time best for the general population." Does that mean that the words "shall meet at the time best for the general population" are already there, and it wants to insert the words? Because if I read it that way, this is just about recording. But if both those are being inserted, then it's about both.
So what happened was it was going to be all one warrant article. And after listening to a lot of different people, a friend of mine who lives in Hudson suggested to me, you should break them up.
Can we just pause real quick? Let the record reflect that we're past 5 minutes, but I'd love to extend, please.
Okay, thank you. So they said break it up, because somebody may be for recordings and not for public comment, or somebody may be for the time, so to get a truer picture of what people were for, they said do 3 different warrants instead of 1. And I think that when I broke it up, I just got a little confused in the writing of it, but...
So is the intention of this recording to break it up in recording and time, or both?
No, it was there's one that specifically says time, and then there's one that says recording, and then there's one that says public comment at the beginning and end.
Okay.
It was all one in my head,
Yep.
but I
And
was
this is the
breaking it up.
recording one. I just want to make sure
Correct.
so when other
I'm
people
very
come
sorry.
up,
Yes.
we're speaking clearly about.
Yes, and from what I could tell by the votes, it seemed like people wanted all 3, and I probably should have left them as all 3, but hindsight.
Thank you.
Anything else, or? Okay,
Thank you. Is there anyone else regarding this topic only? All right, seeing none, we'll transition to our second.
Are we gonna talk about this? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
So when we're looking at this, here's what I. So currently, every board is regulated by the charter and can pick their own times and their own meetings and their own rules. Mm-hmm. The majority of them already. So like 20 years ago, they changed from 7:30 to 7 o'clock. Any board can change the time anytime they want. If the majority of the board wants to change the time, they can change it. I checked with cable and everything. We're recording like 99% of the meetings. We've got some staffing issues. One person just came back from maternity leave, but they endeavor to record all the meetings. They do the best they can. The state statute only says that we have to take minutes. I mean, if the legislature wants to change the statute, that's one thing. But it sounds like everybody's trying real hard to do this right. So that's at least from what I've been able to investigate. So
Yeah.
they're already allowed to change them if they want to, according to the charter. So just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It sounds like we're already doing what we need to do.
Okay.
I think the intention of this was for other boards that aren't recorded. Now, like John said, we do run into trouble where it says in the charter we cannot enforce rules upon other boards. So that would require, this one is one that would require a charter change to do anything with.
Well, all of it. So here's the thing: is they were all ruled advisory, which means they weren't legal. So you go through this process, open the charter, whatever, if people want to change them. But here's the thing: you got dual family incomes. How do you pick a time? You know, I mean, but if you want to do that, open the whole charter up and then redo the whole thing. It's been 30 years. That's fine.
All right. So, Ron, do you?
I'm good right now.
Okay, thank you. So real quick, before we transition to the other part of public comment, I just ask and remind everyone you have 5 minutes. Let your comments be channeled and funneled through the chair. So let them please be directed to me. No attacks. And if you are, you can attack me. So with that, we will move on to public comment. General public comment. You have 5 minutes per person. Thank you.
Deb Paul, 118 Hardy Road.
Good evening.
Good evening. I, at the last meeting, said I would be here. Fine, let's open the charter. Obviously, I feel like you guys aren't going to really come to an answer. This is going to drag on, and you're not going to do what the voters asked. So therefore, fine, let's open the charter. Mr. Malaguti was supposed to show up and give me, at this meeting, I hope somebody has it, what we're supposed to do for a short opening of the charter or a full opening of the charter. Do we have it?
We have it.
Good. May I come up and get it, or?
It's attached to the packet.
It is. It
Council
is.
packets
Thank
and
you.
posted on the
It's in the
website.
packet. Should be printed out. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else?
She done?
Are you done? You have 4 minutes left.
Well, because people,
You-
you talk about enforcing things and not enforcing things, and I know this is going back to what we just talked about. I personally just don't understand why there's such pushback on doing something simple
Can I
like
be-
this.
can I ask you
And
a
you
question?
talk, if you don't mind.
I will pause your time while I
Thank
talk.
you. Thank you. Well, let me just finish this once because I think it might answer what you're going to say.
Okay.
I heard John talk about staffing issues and whatnots, to coin Dave Wally. The fact is, go to another town, a small town. Go to a town the same size as ours. Go to Hudson. Go to Derry. They're bigger. Go to Sandown. Go to Chester. Go to Hampstead. Go to Litchfield. And look at their cable. Same amount of money, sometimes less. They do a heck of a job better of getting all of the meetings up. Hudson goes to every single event at the schools and town. And I'm not saying we do a bad job. I'm just saying there are other ways of doing things. They have more of the school participating in it than we do. We used to.
So, I'm just going to say that our cable department does
They're
a
great.
phenomenal.
I love Drew. I love Drew. It has nothing to do with that.
A phenomenal job, Deb.
I'm telling you, you should go look at some other towns, please. I'm not saying they do a bad job. I'm just saying there are better ways of doing things. Sometimes doing the same thing repetitively isn't always the best thing. And it's good to look outside the box. It's good to look at what other people do because you learn something and you expand on it and you can improve on it. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. And no one is perfect. And so there's always room for improvement. And that's why we always look for a different rate on our rate cards, or we look for different, deals here and there, because we're always looking for something better. And Drew does a great job. I mean, but are there things that could be done? Yeah. I mean, I really think that if you took 5 seconds out of your day and just go look at some of the other towns' cables, you'd be shocked. Shocked.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name and address, please.
Name is Mike Parnell. Address is 28 Holton Circle.
Hey, Mike.
Hello. Just want to thank you guys for the service that you guys provide this town, for sure. Start with that. Thank you for the communication that I've had with several of you over the last couple of weeks. Stand before you guys as a father in here in town. I got 3 kids, daughter 9, son 7, another son 3. I'm a coach of the New Hampshire Charge, which is ultimately what I'm here to discuss with you guys. And I sit on their board of directors as a compliance officer. About 2 weeks ago, I started researching what I needed to do to gain access to either North or South School fields in town to conduct practice for 2 Londonderry-based flag football teams, of which 6U and 8U would be hypothetically looking to attend those practices. Total players on those 2 teams is 18. Of the 18, 11 of which are from Londonderry. What the charge is we're a traveling flag tournament team. So we have tournaments that we travel to. I mean, it started at Fenway Park. We got to play at the field at Fenway Park in November of last year. We're scheduled to go to Mattapan, Harvard, UConn, Foxborough. There's a wide array of tournaments that we're going to be going to starting in June and then ending in end of July. Mm-hmm. So I had reached out. I've obviously shared some messages with the group, stopped in. Cam was nice enough to give me a little bit of guidance, because I'm just ultimately I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing right by the town. Obviously, I have a lot of connections, as you guys know, in terms of Kaylee Stewart's and the et ceteras. But just making sure that we're falling in line with whatever town regulations that there are to make sure that we're giving clearance. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is create an opportunity for the youth, obviously, to get out there and practice, run some formations, just to make sure that they are prepared in advance of going to these tournaments. We want to make sure that we're doing it within the confines of the regulations that are in place. I've read through the ordinance. I understand that there is a specific piece of the ordinance that we could be providing a similar service to the youth as the Wildcats. I've talked to, Mike O'Donnell. I talked to Jimmy Luzon yesterday. I had a conversation with Art. I've kind of done my due diligence. Just want to make sure that it's clear that we are not looking to start a new program in town. We're not looking to host games in town. We're not looking to bring other teams into town. Really, at the end of the day, it's giving ourselves an opportunity to have these kids come out and practice on, again, either North or South School fields, for about an hour and a half for 2 times a week. And that would end up starting again as soon as we could hypothetically be given access to it, and it would be at the end of July. Mm-hmm. We have 2 additional tournaments that we go to, one in October and one in November, but at that point we shift the practices back into either Derry, Bedford, Milford indoor facilities, just because it's too cold for these little kids. We're a registered 501c nonprofit. The 2 teams in question that I'm talking about are involved in a fundraiser right now that launched on May 3rd. In total, the fundraiser itself has raised $14,959 in 17 days. Out of that $14,959, the 2 teams in question have raised $12,680, I believe, based on my last check before I came in here. Mm-hmm. All that money is going to be used for us to, a wide array of things, equipment, tournament expenses, registration fees, you name it. So the community and the parents that are involved have obviously gotten behind it, and we've done a good job so far as raising up the money to get ourselves prepared. Nonprofit was established January 17th of this year. So I have all of the documentation that I read through in the ordinance, roster names, where the coaches are from, board of directors, all of that I have prepared. Just wanted to stand before you today to again make sure you understand we're not trying to create a program. We're not trying to compete in any way. We're just looking to be in line with any town regulation as it relates to actually having these practices, because the last thing I want to have happen is be on a field at South School or North School and I have 10 to 18 kids in total there, plus parents, and be in a situation where we're being asked to leave. It's just obviously a bad look, and being that we're registered with the state, I wanted to come in here and formally request that of you guys. And again, thank everybody who's been kind of involved over the last 2 weeks in the communication, trying to get me ready and get me prepared for this.
Yeah. So I believe you're referring to Ordinance 2006-08, which is regarding the approval of sanctioned recreation groups. Is that what the ordinance you're referring to?
Correct.
So, thank you. Typically, the way we do the way things happen at the council, there's an ordinance, there's a first reading, second hearing. This being the first time that the council has heard of this topic, this item that you'd like to bring forward. I mean, I'm going to leave it up to the council on next steps, but I have asked the recreation director, Mr. Art Solis, to come up and talk a little bit about this ordinance as well as some of the conversations he had. So if you wouldn't mind, just stand by and I'll ask Mr. Art, yes, please.
Yep.
Art to come up. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Art Salidas, Director of Recreation. The ordinance to sanction groups, recreation groups, was started way back in the 80s when rec basketball was going on, and then we had a couple of groups that filtered off to play travel. And then what happened is they're picking an all-star team from, say, the 11 and 12-year-old group, a couple of kids from each team. And then certain kids didn't make that team, so the daddies, mummies wanted to form another team. And so they formed another team, and then they were looking for space in the schools. And at one point, it was about 30 teams that were looking for space, and the school district called me and said, we have to do something. Well, specifically, they said, you have to do something. So came up with the sanctioning bylaws or the rules of this, and it's been changed. Initially, the Recreation Commission did it alone, and then the town council took it over, and I think that's where it belongs. And there are qualifications that have to be met. The big one that has a problem for another group is the one that says you can't have competing groups. And that's in there because and it's happened in other towns, that if somebody doesn't like, for example, the way Laffer is being run for baseball, they say, well, we're going to bring in Cal Ripken or we're going to bring in Little League or whatever, and that's what we're going to do because that's what we want to do. So we didn't want to have that going on because we don't have the space, we don't have it, and I don't want kids put in the middle of two groups of adults calling kids saying, hey, I'd like you to play for my team. That happened way back in the 80s, and that's how we ended up here. So we have a group right now that does flag football. It's the Wildcats had tackle football, and we had a group doing flag football. It was very small, and it wasn't being run very well. And we asked the Wildcats to take it over, and they took it over, and they've expanded it. And they go with the NFL model and all that, and they get a lot of kids. Personally, as a long time coach and educator, I don't think it's real wise to start young kids too early playing tackle football. I think in the long term, we get some injuries that may not show up until the kid is 15, 16, or in my case, 75. So that's the problem that would be with this group, because it is a flag football group. They are competitive, but it's going to be taking the same kids that are playing, and that's what we've tried to avoid in the past.
Okay.
So that's how the sanctioning started. We have ample fields for our groups. We're okay, but we won't have ample fields if another baseball group forms or another lacrosse group forms. So
can groups use the other form of government, the schools fields?
Well, the school district passed the rule. Once we started the sanctioning ordinance, the school district won't give fields out unless the group is sanctioned by the town.
I think
you
this
guys.
is probably the only thing that they will let us make a decision for
It's-
them ever.
It's probably the only thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but they like it this way because we in recreation will do the background check to find out what's going on with the group and whatnot. And I to be honest, I get probably 25 to 40 requests a year to use West Road. And the reason people want to use West Road is because the fields are nice. The reason the fields are nice is we take care of them and we limit it to Londonderry people because the Londonderry adults are the ones paying the bill. I talked to the woman at the school district and she gets probably 30 or 40 requests a year of groups that just call. Somebody has a travel baseball team or an AAU baseball team and they're looking for a field and they'll get on the phone and just start dialing every town to find if they can get on a field somewhere because they need a field and they don't want to build a field. So we work, the school district and the recreation department get along famously. We get along extremely well. We work very well together. So
I'm going to ask the council, if it's all right with the council, to hold off on further conversation on this topic until after public comment, if that's all right.
Okay.
On what do you want to do, or we can talk about it now.
He has the ability to apply as part of the sanctioning process if he wants to go through that process. I think that's, everyone has to follow the process.
Okay. Sir, have you applied for the process through the process?
That's ultimately been one of the things that I've been stopping in to try to identify is because there aren't any links, and I know that that's one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with Art.
Yeah.
Is to find out what does that formal application look like outside of me sending along emails. I have the packets of all the backup stuff as far as the 501c, and I wasn't able to find any links online, nor
Yeah.
have I been able to identify a formal application, which was the purpose of a couple of stop-ins, and actually when I had the opportunity to make the CAM briefly last week.
So I would think that you would need to provide documentation for under the ordinance to make sure that you satisfy that. So I just asked Cameron if you could please maybe put together just a one-sheet organization, ask the questions, if that's all right. Ask the questions, here are the criteria. Do you meet and provide the documentation, John?
Go back to about 2008. I think that's when the sanctioning process was put in place. Somewhere in that ballpark. It was back,
2006.
there might be some citizens in the room that might be able to help you, though it was around the whole thing around the Blue Lions, so maybe it was 2008, 2006, but it was sometime around that time.
I can.
So I don't think that I hear the council saying no. I believe what I'm just saying is let's follow the process so that it's equal for everyone that's applying. Sound good?
Yeah.
Council okay with that?
And for this, I brought in all of that backup.
Do you mind passing it along to Cameron?
Yep. I have 5 copies if you see fit. But.
We're good.
All right.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment? Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. My name is Rick Olson. I live at 1165 Silly Road in Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm the president of the Londonderry Fish and Game Club. I'm also a legacy member. What that basically means is I've been a member since 1977. I was a junior member, so I have a lot of personal equity invested in this club. So we came to the town of Londonderry a while back, and we wanted to build a clubhouse. We hired the firm Keach Nordstrom, and they did our site design engineering work. We hired Kurt Lauer, who's an architect, and he has his own structural engineer. So we went through that whole process, went through the process of having our septic designed and then approved by DES. Went through the process of making those necessary connections with National Grid and New England Power, so they give an easement to Eversource, who then we give an easement to get power into our club. We went through full site design review. We paid the fees. We did everything the town asked us. We got a conditional approval. And then we met those conditions and we got a full approval. We had our construction meeting and we started our site work. Okay. So now our general contractor, Steve Langley, reaches out to get a building permit and is told you're not getting a building permit because you need a couple of variances. And wouldn't you know it, I walk in here tonight and I actually get the formal notice handed to me. It's dated May 6th, but my understanding the decision was made May 2nd. So you might want to work that out and find out why that happened. This is the first notice. No attorneys have gotten it. None of our club officers have gotten it. I got it handed to me tonight. That's kind of poor. So we're now $170,000 into this project. We've got materials that are ordered and we're stalled. Okay? It's like making a cake and starting with the frosting. It's just so ridiculous. So I read this letter thoroughly, and I'll be quite honest with you. I don't have any problem with anything here. If we got to get a variance, we got to get a variance. That's fine. But we should have had this done during planning, not after everything's all been said and done. That's where I'm ticked off. Okay? Everybody waited until we're ready to dig a hole in the ground and put our cisterns in for our fire suppression before this was ever a topic, And let me tell you something else, too. The planning board here, great. They did a great job. They were attentive. They paid attention to detail. And John Trotter, who I'm no fan of, I'll even give him props. He did a fantastic job, okay? So I'm getting all these emails from my membership when they learn of this. And they're saying, oh, it's a conspiracy, they're out to get us, and I reassured them they're not. This is just buffoonery. It's just pure, rank buffoonery. This stuff, I go to 99% of other towns in the state of New Hampshire, okay? And if I was to go through this product, if I needed a variance, I would get that I would get that information at the planning process, not after they've signed off and approved our plans. Think about how silly that is, okay? We start our process, we're $170K into it, now we're going to have materials sitting on the ground, God knows how long. The goal here was that we get our shell put in place, we get it all closed in by September, October before the winter months happen. That ain't going to happen now. So I'm ticked off. I think the process is broken when, you have the unmitigated gall to tell us that we need these variances after the planning board approved it. That's what I'm ugly about, And I came here to tell the council that today and just express my displeasure with it. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Olson knows this already. I found out about this around 5:30 today. I had a conversation with Mr. Olson, who I've known for many, many years. I'll share with the council. I contacted our attorney. The Fish and Game Club is represented by council, and I have a call at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning with the town's attorney to try to figure out what's going on and see what can and can't be done. And we discussed this on the telephone.
Yes, we did.
So just, I got a phone call from the chair, and he asked me to, since I know Rick for a long time, and I'm not a member of the club, so.
I felt the strong need to come here tonight and be on record. We don't come and we don't bother the town. We don't come here and bedraggle issues. We keep to ourselves right over there in that corner of the woods, and we run our club, and we don't labor the town over this, that, and the other thing. So this is one of those times where I needed to be here and let everybody know and be on record that this is unacceptable.
Yeah, Mr. Olson and I discussed that. They've been here since the 50s. They predated all ordinances.
Yeah.
We've worked through other, I guess I'll call it silliness in the past.
Yeah.
And
Ironically,
we've always had a nice relationship.
Ironically enough, the statute right here, RSA 674-41-2, allows a local zoning board adjustment to grant an exception, and a building permit may be issued after approval from the town council in consult with the planning board, and deed recording requirements releasing the town from
Just let the-
responsibilities and liability. That was what I was relying on in my earlier discussion with some of the town officials. So,
Just let the record reflect, I've lifted the 5 minutes.
Okay. no, I can stay within the 5-minute time. That's fine. I said everything. I'm just adding fluff now. So,
So as we discussed on the phone, give me, a little time.
okay,
And I'm the legal liaison, so give me a little time and let me get into it.
we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
Thanks.
I will say thank you for some of that history. I received this today as well, and I didn't know some of this backstory. So thank you for providing the backstory.
Anyone else? Good evening.
Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive. First of all, my husband was unavailable to attend this town council meeting with me this evening, so he asked two of my friends, two of his friends, he asked to attend with me for my safety. Second, after the last meeting during public comment by a council member stated that the town does not vote on the budget but moves it to the voters. I spent a lot of time searching a charter, but was unable to find the word moves in reference to the budget and the town council. I was able to find active involvement in the budget process in several places. 5.2, the council shall review the budget for the following fiscal year and make such modifications and amendments as it desires. 5.4b, all votes of the town council and the advisory budget committee shall be recorded votes. The default 5.3d3, the default budget may be amended by the town council based on relevant new information. I also found that on Article 4 of the town budget, a ballot that was handed to the people that we all voted on, it says the town council, by a vote of 5-0, recommended a yes vote. So I also have a letter here, an email on February 22nd that I received from the town manager stating elected salaries, including the town's clerks, are included in the budget and voted on by the town council and residents each year. The sitting clerk was designated a department head in charge of managing the clerk's office and the clerk's staff, which, by the way, was not voted on by the town. The clerk regularly works hours over 40. The salary of a new town clerk would be determined by the town council and then become part of the yearly budget. That's from your manager, okay? So finally, I would also like to correct the statement that I made at the last town council meeting. I looked it up quick on my phone, and I'd like to correct that. The error that I made at the previous meeting, the correction has been, the charter has been revised 7 times since it was adopted on 7/1/1996, 4 times revised in the past 20 years during one councilor's tenure, and most recently by the town meeting on 3/10/2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good evening, sir. Name and address.
Richard Belinsky, 89 Hall Road.
Thank you.
Over the last few weeks, months, and years, we've had a lot of talk about 91As and why they need to be done or not done. A couple of weeks ago, you talked about breaking out the budget for it, but potentially. I know it was some discussion, and it's an expense to do. Well, I'm going to tell you, the reason you get 91As is because when you send emails to the town asking simple questions, you don't get an answer. That's happened to me multiple times over the years, especially going back to when we had the generator situation with the police department. 6 months I asked for the service records, and I got nothing. Asked nicely, just, no 91A, let's just, it's just service records. Wasn't until I did a 91A did I get an answer. So last week, I got some calls from some people asking if I knew why the town clerk's office was closed. I says, no, I don't, because they went down. I said, but I emailed yesterday, being Tuesday before the Wednesday, to find out why. We're 5 business days in, plus the weekend, which we don't count. I still don't have any. I still haven't been answered. I was given 2 different answers as to why. One was training, and one was somebody in the clerk's office who did a Facebook post that said it was the annual New Hampshire Town Clerks Conference. Which one it is, I don't know. My understanding also is that the town clerk was away on vacation. That's fine. They get vacation. So I don't know why you keep questioning the 91As when you can't get an answer to a simple question. My question was, why is the town clerk's office closed tomorrow, being the 15th? And the other part of this, I put it in as poor customer service, which it is, because although you've posted it, and it had been posted on, on the website for a couple of weeks, because I get the stuff at home because I'm signed up, the average person does not know. There were multiple people on Facebook. I got one call and a couple of emails asking me, do I know why? I says, no. Why you closed down the office? If anything, I feel it should have been the way it was years ago, and I believe it was a Thursday night, might have been a Tuesday, where they didn't open until 11 or so in the morning, and then we're open till late at night, so those that work out of town can get down to register a vehicle, whatever their town business is. I've got many excuses as to why my emails aren't answered. We didn't get it, which I usually BC myself, so if I got it, you got it, the town got it. I forgot about it. The person was on vacation. Well, if the person's on vacation, and I'm not talking about recent, this was in the past, I would think the town, if they are running correctly, would have somebody checking those emails if somebody's going to be out for a week or two to answer these. The answer could have been one word: training, conference. Instead, I got nothing. And when you try to put a $100,000 price tag on the 91As, and I'm not saying it isn't $100,000, I don't know what the number is, you need to break that out as how much of that would be an attorney asking for a 15,000-page document. How much is really residents versus how much is an out-of-state group, an in-state group, attorneys asking for documents, something that's because of a legal, something in the legal system. But it's made to sound like, oh, it's $100,000, and it's, people, all the same people asking all the time. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know what the breakdown is because I haven't seen it. But if you're going to do it that way so people know. Or don't do it. I don't care if you do it or don't do it. But you need to come up with some type of system in this town where when somebody sends an email, there's an answer. I don't use the town website email anymore. I do it from my own email because when you do it on that one, they say they never got it. It disappeared. You get no way of knowing because unless it's changed since the last time you used it, you don't get anything back. That's a useless system. You need to make changes. We don't need to have a charter commission for this. Get somebody to get off their duff and change the system so people get answers, and there's a way of tracing them.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Just a couple of comments.
There was a gentleman who wanted to speak in the back.
My apologies. Please come forward. We'll reopen public comment. Thank you. Thank you.
Glenn Douglas, 6 Overlook Ave. I've got a question, actually a couple. The question is a follow-up on the town manager's, how you do a charter amendment, because the person that asked the question can't ask a second question. It says here, there's nothing as far as dates and guidelines, but it also says something about 20% of the ballots cast in the last regular election. I'd kind of like to know what that is because I think we have a big election coming up in November. So if you were to file this the day after November, do you need 20% of a primary? Because those numbers are huge, as opposed to a March election. The other thing that kind of falls into this is I really don't understand why all of a sudden public comment is limited to one time, one person. It's never been like that in the past, and I kind of see that as a rule change. And when Mr. Faber asked about public comment at the end of the meeting, he was immediately dismissed, saying, well, that'd be a rule change, that'd be a public hearing, and minimum of 3 town council meetings. So I emailed the town council chairman the following morning and asked for documentation on where it's written that this is a requirement. Much like Mr. Belinsky, I never got a response. We're told the people out here spew misinformation, but when it's the council, it just gets dismissed. There was no public hearing. I went back to 2018 when the rules were adopted. There was no public hearing. There were multiple meetings, which was motion to kick the rules down the road, kick them down the road, kick them down the road. Finally, it said, let's just vote on them, and here's what we get. This is getting kind of ridiculous. We breathe loud, and now we get gavelled down. Take it outside. It seems all you want to do is stop people from talking. As far as the warrant articles, all those warrant articles were very simple, straightforward. People voted, most cases, 3-1. This is what they want you to do. I emailed 2 boards that the rumor is absolutely refuse to record their meetings. And I asked them, would you honor what the people asked for? Again, no response. They just ignore it. It goes into the vapor. That's really all I have to say. There's 2 rules for the town here.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Good evening.
Hello. Hello. Ann Champa, 28 Wedgewood Drive. I was got a question about appointments tonight. Are you appointing, you're interviewing somebody for the alternate position on the planning board tonight?
No, I believe that got pushed off.
No.
Is that correct, Kelly?
Correct, it's got moved to the next available, June 3rd.
So we're just doing Beautify Londonderry, Heritage, and the accepting of the resignation.
Because I didn't see it posted for another member, an alternate member. Has it been posted yet?
Yeah, please.
It's been posted, or it will be
Oh,
posted.
I'm sorry. I should ask.
No, you're
the
fine. Yeah.
chair.
All of the vacant positions have been updated and will be posted.
Okay. Thank
With
you
the
very
exception of the alternate member from Roger, correct? Because we haven't accepted that resignation.
Correct.
much. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, now I will close public comment. With that, we'll move into Section C, appointments, interviews for Beautify Londonderry Heritage Commission at this time. So those who have applied for, bear with me. Where are we at, Ted? Here we go. For the, what's the next one, Kirsten?
Can you do Megan Thompson first for the Heritage Commission?
So Megan Thompson, if you'd like to please come up for the Heritage Commission position. Can you hear Megan?
Yeah.
Ah.
I know.
So good evening, Megan. Typically what we do is for these positions, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Which one of you were applying?
I know it's me.
You dropped.
Because I think the smaller one might be more helpful
To your
to
right.
the town.
someday. She did make some public comment in the past.
So typically what we do is when we do our interviews, we ask for the applicant to state your name and address, just because we like to have it for a record, make sure you're a Londonderry resident. We allow applicants to provide a brief intro about themselves. We'll open it up to the council for any questions that they might have. And then we'll move forward with a vote to either accept you onto the position that you applied. So with that, just name and address and a brief intro. If you
Okay,
can.
sure. Hi, my name is Megan Thompson. I live at 2 Severance Drive. I've lived in Londonderry for a little bit less than a year, and I'm looking to get involved in the community. So when I saw the call for volunteers, I decided to apply. I previously worked as a journalist, so I've covered a lot of like town and planning board meetings, and I actually find them interesting. No offense. I know a lot of people do not, so that is why I applied.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for volunteering. And is there any questions from the council for Megan?
How would you like to look? How are you looking to hopefully help Beautify Londonderry with their organization?
Well, I think it's the other one I'm interested in.
The Heritage Commission?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I got confused. How would you like to help on the Heritage Commission?
I think first is just like listening and learning, because I'd be an alternate. So just getting up to speed on like the matters that are in front of the board. Yeah.
Megan, would you be interested in the 2-year alternate or the 3-year alternate position?
I do not have a preference.
You don't have a preference?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'd like to keep you around as long as possible. John, you're going to ask a question.
So any young mom or new mom who comes here tonight has a motion from me to accept you for the Heritage Commission.
Oh, thank you.
Would you like the 2-year or the 3-year?
Oh gosh.
You're a young mom and you get to go home. I'm not keeping you here.
Yeah,
And,
3 years.
I admire the fact that you came down here, and I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah. 3-year.
3-year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second
So
that.
moved.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Real quick, thank you very much for volunteering for this community and giving back to the wonderful and beautiful town that we have. And wish you many years and blessings to your growing family. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor to accept Megan for the 3-year position alternate on the Heritage, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Chair votes in the affirmative. Megan, if you could just see the town clerk at some point in the next couple days to be
Is there
sworn in.
Gatorade or somebody else's?
That is not her Gatorade.
No. And Megan, super cute child.
Absolutely. Congratulations. All right, moving on. Beautify Londonderry. Is Beth Murray here?
I'm here.
Hi, good evening, Beth. How are you?
Good evening.
So just like before on Heritage, you've applied for the Beautify Londonderry position. We have a one ad hoc position, full-time or full position, and then an alternate ad hoc position for the Heritage. So a couple questions. If you could please just provide your name and address as well as a brief intro, and then let us know which position interests you
Okay.
most.
Well, my name is Beth Murray, and I'm at 28 Forest Street in Londonderry. Proud to say that. I've actually been a Londonderry resident for about 35 years, and I was not even aware that we had a Beautify Londonderry committee. So once I've learned about this, I've attended a few meetings. I've helped pick up trash. I picked up 6 bags on South Road, by the way, with traffic. But I did it. And I just want to be part of this town and help to give back to make it a beautiful place to be. I like gardening, and I have grandchildren in this school, and it's important to me that we rally together.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the
I
council?
will speak for Beth. She was at the meeting at 6 o'clock that we weren't able to have because we didn't have a quorum. So you would be a welcome addition. And you also helped us out on Beautify Londonderry, manning the table, and you picked up the trash also. So I thank you for that.
And I love to, I like results before and after. Weeds, no weeds. Trash, no trash.
I really appreciate everything you guys do, just volunteering at Beautify Londonderry. It's just a great
And this
initiative.
is just the beginning. Like, I've only learning of the things that I can do, so who knows?
Oh, hey, let's run for council because I'm about done.
Give me a little bit of time, please.
Dude, I've been here 25 years. I could use a replacement.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Beth.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second from
Second.
Ted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? This was for the Beautify Londonderry, the.
You wanted the alternate position,
Alternate
correct?
or,
Well,
It's up to you. You helped us. You've been to many meetings, so you talked to me about doing the alternate. So it's up to you.
I just was thinking alternate because I didn't know what all was involved. But I don't want to, I don't want to take away somebody else's option. If they want to be full-time, I'm happy to take the alternate because I do have work obligations at times.
So
do you have a preference then?
I'll do the alternate.
Okay,
The
yeah, so that's
alternate?
what we have.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's what we did.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
That's
you
what
very
we
much.
agreed on.
What's that?
That's what we agreed on.
Absolutely. May you please see the clerk within 5 days to get sworn in.
Sure.
Thank you very
Certainly.
much.
Thank
you
you
for
very
your
much.
Thank you, Beth.
service.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have a resignation from Roger Filio, who's an alternate member of the planning board.
Move to accept Roger's resignation.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Roger, thank you very much for your service on the planning board and your dedication to this community. It's greatly appreciated. Moving on, new business. I'm going to move things around quickly. We're going to move the fire department up. I hear one of the presenters' daughter's recital is going.
At this point, Chairman, you can keep it the way it is if you want.
All right, we'll keep it the way it is.
Did we miss the recital?
It's a fourth grade course, Constance. It's no big deal.
Of course it's a big deal. Is it going on right now?
It's a big deal, but you have it.
Is it over?
We're moving on. It's over. We're moving on.
So it's over?
It's concluded, yes.
Oh, okay. So if it hasn't concluded.
As long as if I could get there, then that would be great. It didn't happen, that's okay.
So then we'll keep it the way it is. Fair enough. Resolution 2024-11, establishing the Lions Hall Study Committee. Presentation from our Assistant Town Manager, Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your package, you'll find the resolution establishing the Lions Hall Study Committee and its associated charge. As the council is well aware, the Lions Hall discussion has been going on for at least a year plus at this point. No decisions have been made with regard to the Lions Hall, and so the intention of this committee is to provide the council with recommendations for the potential use, restoration, maintenance, and potential funding options for the Lions Hall. So this evening, for the council's consideration, you may choose to adopt the committee as is, make any amendments, or continue the discussion to the next meeting.
Thank you very much for that presentation. So I had asked, or actually, I'm sorry, the town manager had asked if this could be an agenda item, just based on the fact that budget season is going to come up faster than we realize. I obliged, and really, what does the council want to do with this study committee? What are your thoughts?
I'm reading over this. This is the first time I've seen this.
I think the packets went out on Friday or Thursday.
Tuesday.
Well, that may be true. I just didn't see this part of the packet. My apologies.
Yeah. So essentially, Kelly, because there's some motion in the back, what this does is would establish a study committee have 5 voting members and 2 alternates, essentially be appointed by the town council, and shall really be an ad hoc basis. And there'll be a chair, secretary, and such. They'll be in compliance in 91A, develop a mission statement, goals, and really just to figure out and put together a plan to present to the council and to the public on what is the suggestions of this ad hoc committee with what to do with the Lions Hall.
Correct.
Correct.
And as you highlighted, Mr. Chair, the goal would be to have some type of recommendation and perhaps a formal report prior to budget season.
Okay.
I just wondered, is this even enough time for whoever may be part of this committee, enough time to meet throughout the summer during everyone's busy schedules, and then meet in September to provide by October 1st a plan between what has been presented through our Public Works Department and all of their work with our engineering firms, and as well to potentially hold whatever meetings and or charrettes with the town. I don't know if this is really enough time to provide something by October 1st. I think this is a short amount of time to be able to do anything. But
So the best you can do is move it to October 21st, so we would get it before the budget presentation. But anything later than October 21st isn't gonna work.
right,
So, but the charge here is, it says a lot, but it doesn't really give them defined timelines. I'm fine with doing it, but I think we need to define that, by certain timelines, certain things have to be completed.
yeah.
But, so I think it needs some sort of, I think it needs more definition. Such as potential uses of the property. Maybe we want that before Old Home Day. I'm just making things up. Gather community and stakeholder feedback. They should probably have it open and take the survey at Old Home Day. Or I think they need to be given further direction on how to meet that deadline. My 2 cents. I mean, you can adopt it the way it is.
Right.
But I think it needs further definition.
Amendments.
I agree.
Yep.
That, and also I think that for representation, I think we should have a member from staff on there as a ex officio on that board, who has the actual knowledge of the building and institutional knowledge of it, and how the different potential renovations could actually happen.
Well, I think we have all that, don't we?
We do, but I think
know
the
that-
board should actually be advised and educated upon how we can or cannot use the building
I
at
know
the
that
same time,
Dave-
instead of just looking at pie in the sky
Yeah.
things.
I know that Dave Wally had put in a substantial amount of time previous years, working with the engineering company and also with his work. I know that Cheerson had done some work, as well as the assistant town manager and town manager, into this. So I believe a lot of that groundwork is done. I agree with what John is saying on, let's give a little bit more structure and define timelines. What would you suggest, would be?
Question one. Rehab the building, yes or no?
Right.
It's question one. If the answer is no, it's a very short committee.
Right.
That's what they need to, yes or no, rehab the building. Number two, what are we gonna use it for? Until you define those two things, you can't answer the rest of the questions.
No, I completely agree.
So that needs to be in the charge.
Right.
To tell them that those are the things that, that need to happen.
That, and also I think there needs to be more, as you said, dates of completions. We've scheduled these meetings with the town. We've scheduled meetings, public charrettes with the town. Put on things either at the high school or the town common, or an outside event at the Lions to actually get people there to see what they want to do. We need to have dates and purpose so that they're actually meeting their goal of, by John said, October 21st.
Answer the first two questions, and the whole thing goes either really fast or really slow.
Exactly.
But you got to answer those first two questions first. But that's the charge of the committee.
Right.
Then they have to do the rest of what you're talking about and meet the dates. You can't run the committee for them, but you just got to give them the charge.
So, if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is maybe, or are you saying add those two questions, rehab yes or no, what's the use for, as 1 and 2, and then say something along depending on the results? How would you frame that?
You can adopt this and then just rewrite the charge.
Okay.
The charge doesn't have to be exact. This is good enough to adopt, but then rewrite the charge so that when you do the interviews, you know what you're asking the interviewees to do. That would be my recommendation. I wouldn't rewrite the document. I would adopt, if I was doing it, I would adopt it as presented, and then I would revise the charge for the interviews and for the posting of the interviews. That would be the fastest way to do it.
Anyone else have anything?
That's fine with me.
Okay. So do you want to make a motion? Does anyone want to make a motion?
Make
or-
a motion to, what is it? It's, make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-11.
All right.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Well, Resolution 2024-11 is adopted. Thank you.
And I guess please get those 7 positions, 5 permanent and 2 alternates posted as soon as possible so that we can get them hopefully interviewed. But I know we always have a lack of people wanting to apply, so we'll see what we get.
Please apply. All right, moving on. Playground update. Assistant Recreation Director Doug Cole and Administrative Support Coordinator Cheerson Hilden. And good evening. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much for letting us be here tonight to discuss this too. For those, Sean, I have not met you yet, but Doug Cole, Assistant Recreation Director. So giving Art the night off to discuss the playground a bit. So Funway Playground over on Nelson Road has been brought up in needs of some updates as well as issues that have been brought to our department's attention. So this presentation is just to go over some of those findings as well as some potential short-term and long-term priority fixes that can be done over there. So jumping right into it. First and foremost, what we want to talk about in our department is if you see a problem, we want to know. The town residents, those that use the parks, use the facilities, they are our advocates. So the more that we know that is brought to our attention is the faster way that we can get around to fixing those items that might come up of note. As you can see on the slide, there's a number of items listed. There's the Recreation website, which will now have a Google Doc feedback form that will also encompass all of the different facilities and park spaces in town, so that residents can submit directly to our department with suggestions, things they've seen, items of note, and we'll be able to respond to them accordingly. Within the last year, we've created a recreation Facebook page. The simple way to get in touch with us through there is just the Facebook Messenger button. We have the recreation hotline that's been around, as well as our email addresses that are listed on all of our documentation, our websites, all of our forms that go out. And then we also invite residents to come attend Recreation Commission meetings, which take place the second Monday of every month at the Sunday Conference Room, and that starts 7:30. So we're always we've had people coming in with all different type of items that they want to discuss here in town, and we do welcome that, as does the Recreation Commission. So looking at Funway Playground on Nelson Road, some of the issues that were brought to our attention were the ground material, the surface area there, the benches, the irrigation and runoff issues that we get from the rainwater coming off the tennis courts, and as well as some of the fencing and overgrowth that takes place at the park itself. Some other options, some other items that were brought up were the adaptable pieces. There was mentioned that they don't go fast enough; they go too slow. And the monkey bars that are there too. As you can see, as noted, the adaptable piece it was inspected. It works as intended, and it goes at a safe speed rotation for what it was intended use was for. The monkey bars, while could be replaced in the future, it's natural wear and tear, but they're completely usable and safe. I will get into the other items here coming up. Our current maintenance schedule with the town and with our recreation department is we have intended 2024 maintenance that we discussed in late fall of 2023 about doing playground surface material that was needed there, the benches where we were aware of, and then the clearing of overgrowth, which is a typical item that the seasonal staff takes care of throughout the spring, summer, and fall months. The delay in completion on some of those, as I just noted, the seasonal staff and their start dates don't always coincide with when the nice weather comes out and the park becomes useful. Some of the supplies that were needed were on back order specifically to the bench material, as that is a variable cost. So it has been ordered, but it's just it's a waiting game for when supplies are in. And then inclement weather, sometimes we have nice weather, as we know in New England. Sometimes we do not. So it's just a matter of how we're able to get out there and take care of some of those things when staff is available to do those tasks at hand.
So we reached out to Primex, who have a certified playground inspector on staff, and Nicole, she came out and did a playground inspection with us on April 29th. You have a copy of that playground inspection in front of all of you, and it will be appended to the minutes. Overall, she had an extremely favorable opinion of the playground. She said it was great. She said that almost everything was in fantastic shape and all of our clearances were good. And she reiterated some of the things we mentioned before, which Doug's going to get into a little bit more. But going forward, we're going to be working with Primex on an annual basis to inspect the playground and respond to their feedback. And staff will be doing monthly inspections during the season to the best of their abilities, just to make sure that everything is staying in as good a shape as possible, and to do regular maintenance, like, getting rid of all that graffiti that miraculously pops up.
So other items on the short-term priorities, the bench repairs, as I did note, the supplies are ordered. We're just awaiting delivery, and those will be replaced by our seasonal staff once they do arrive. The playground surfacing material was another item that we were looking to do this year. We did purchase 60 yards, which was spread on May 9th. But the number that we need is 235 yards to meet the state and national standards. And that is for the usable space around a lot of the equipment, slides, rockers, anything along those lines. Within a 6-foot perimeter of those items, we need at least 9 inches of depth in mulch. So that's something we're going to need to look at, which would be 175 additional yards. So why only 60 yards? That's all our budget allocated this year. We are going to work to align our budget with the actual costs of our maintenance needs as we look ahead to next year. The other question we typically get is why mulch? Or why mulch for playground surface material. That is still one of the highest rated materials that you can put on playgrounds for usage in comparison to fall height with other materials. So it's still the highest rated, and that's at the national level with the National Recs and Park Association, which is what Primex uses to gauge their inspection reports as well. So other items to be done, equipment. We have a couple climbers that they're replaced, that need to be replaced because of worn elements to them, as well as a rocker that is ineffectually broken. It needs to be taken care of. So we need to address those safety concerns that were presented throughout the inspection, with a few other items of note, which will be done again with short-term and long-term priorities in regards to safety and how we're able to meet those when it comes to budgetary means. The fencing and gate was also brought up. That is something on one end of the tennis court. There is fence that has just been completely peeled back, and people go underneath the bar to get into the park. What we're looking to do there is hopefully open that part of the park up and have a swing gate that will be accessible on both sides of the playground. So that's something that needs to be addressed. And then in terms of signage, just marking the equipment that is there, as well as the playground use and what the intended purposes is when it comes to the ages that can use that are recommended to use that park equipment. Long-term priorities, annual inspections with Primex, because we have them. What's great, too, is that we were able to be there on site and actually go through the process with them, and staff inspections will happen on a more regular basis, whereas they will do it annually. But we'll be able to identify things of note that they've put in their report, as well as what we've seen while going around with them. We have annual equipment removal and replacement as needed. That'll be something that gets looked at. This year, we'll be looking at 2 climbers and the yellow rocker that is broken. In the future, some of the items on there would be around the picnic area, the shade coverage, which is about 12 years old at this point. That's something that would have to be replaced. And then looking ahead too, with other issues that take place there, that would be the drainage issues from erosion and the surfacing redistribution that takes place from the rainfall and the kind of the water path down across the tennis courts. And then playground surfacing materials on here again. That's looking probably every other year. That would be something that have to be put into the maintenance schedule to make sure that we're just keeping that adequate, at least 9 inches of material around the usable equipment within a 6-foot perimeter. So here are some of the short-term and long-term priority costs. Benches, as noted, are done. Inspection is done. The equipment that we're looking at this year, the 2 climbers and the yellow rocker, that totals $9,500. So each climber is $2,500 with the yellow rocker, $4,500. The fence and gate that's $1,350. And then we have 2 options for the playground surfacing material that can be looked at. And we have the options being, one was with it being spread and with it not being spread. So with it being spread, the total cost comes out to about $46 a yard, whereas unspread it's $20 a yard to do the 175 required that's still needed to be done at the playground for this year to make it up to safety standards based on the state and national levels.
How do we typically do that in years past?
In years past, so I know it's been done locally. It has gone out to bid at different times. It's just a matter of when it's needed, it needs to be done. I think it was long overdue, so that was something we had talked about, Art and I, last fall to make sure that it was going to get done this year. But due to kind of what's allowed in our budget, we could only do 60 yards of material. So we did focus it in the areas that are usable to try to get it up to the standards. But it still has a ways to go to cover the whole area.
So the difference between spread is unspread is as basic as that, where the company would spread it out,
correct,
and distribute it throughout the playground versus town staff would have to,
right,
would be responsible for that, correct?
Yes, volunteers. Well, we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get there. So yeah, those are the two different options. So and on the ends of the spectrum. And so in even option 1, there is the price in there of just the yardage material, but in order to do it with the spreading, that does add an additional cost. It pretty much doubles the cost to get that done.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Please continue.
And then looking at long-term costs, and just items that of note will be the inspection. Again, playground surfacing material every other year. Looking for the pavilion cover, which when we had our discussions with O'Brien and Sons, they said about $10,000 to $12,000 for new pavilion cover. That would not be an annual cost. That would be something that would be based on the wear and tear, but hopefully you can get 4 or 5 good years out of it before it needing to be replaced. And then drainage, which would be something we would discuss with our public works department and engineering to see what can be done over there and kind of the best route for that as well. I should make note too. Did meet with Dave Wally of Public Works. We're going to look the front of the playground as you're up near the upper tennis court. There's actually a lot of overgrowth there, where we've had some issues too with some park ruts that have come from vehicles being parked there from student parking. I know it's been an item on the Recreation Commission as well, but we're going to look to potentially clear out that brush area as well as some of the smaller trees and put a gravel edge with some boulders to stop the parking situation, but also help a better aesthetic looking down towards the playground, going towards the new gate. It's early conversation there, but something we are looking to do on the long term to spruce up the overall aesthetic of the playground itself.
So moving forward, how can you help? And I'm glad I heard Ann say volunteers in the background there, because moving forward, we are looking to establish spring and fall playground cleanup days. One of the benefits of the conversation on Facebook was a number of people who said, we want to help. So we'd love to harness this. And we think this is a great volunteer opportunity for people who don't have the time to commit to full boards or committees, but who want to spend a day out there helping. The date, we're intending to hold one this spring, but the date is somewhat up to what you all decide in terms of surfacing material, if you decide to do this, because what type of surfacing, whether we do the surfacing, if we have the surfacing delivered and have to spread it ourselves, then we'd want to obviously align that date with the delivery schedule, right? So it's the day after. If the mulch is being delivered and spread, then we would look at whether it's better to hold that date before or after. So that's why we haven't done a date yet. Also, we have some exciting things happening at Old Home Day, some exciting fundraising opportunities. Our partners at REMAX are looking to collect donations for the playground at Old Home Day. And we have a fundraiser planned linked to our softball tournament as well. So both of those, we're hoping to use those funds to start building a source of funds to take care of the maintenance of the playground. And just for anybody else who's listening or watching, how can you help? You can share your experiences with us. Send your pictures. It's difficult to get pictures of kids enjoying the playground because we don't go out and take pictures of kids because that's bad on so many levels. But if you say, hey, you can use a picture of my kids having fun on the playground, then, it lets us really show people how often this is used. We were amazed. We went out there on a cold day and it was full. This playground gets a lot of traction, and it really is a fantastic and interesting playground. We joked around about all the wooden ones, the wooden and tire ones that we all grew up with, right, where you get splinters the size of a pencil in your finger. This is a great playground, and we want to make sure that it stays in good condition, and we'd love to know how the residents are using it.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please.
Can you go back a slide? So you had mentioned the pavilion cover. Is that to replace the one for the structure that's there, or to add on another pavilion cover?
So currently, that would be for just the pavilion cover that's there, the canvas mesh material that's
And
there.
that one was ripped or damaged?
Yes, that's been, yes.
Okay.
Well loved, yes.
Unfortunately.
Mhm.
Okay. I guess, was there any talk about potentially adding another one?
Not something that we're opposed to, as we're looking ahead to maintenance schedule. Absolutely, yeah. with our
I'm just
long-term
thinking, adding more shade to the area would be great for all the little ones. That's hard to keep them out of the sun sometimes.
Please, Mr.
To your thought of having shade. The problem is, parents want shade. They want to sit in shade while the kids are playing in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So the parent now is not getting hot from the sun, and the kid's out there playing. And my fear is the kid's out there, and then the kid burns, and mommy and daddy are drinking iced coffee there. I'd much rather have the parents near the kids because it's a kiddie playground. It's not a big kid playground.
Mm-hmm.
That, and it's going to cost about $20,000 to provide the shade. Whereas
Along
we
with the
already
structure,
have
yeah.
one that's not always used.
Okay.
So that's my concern, that these, no, it's not hot out there. Stay out there. So
give out hats.
Say,
well, you know what, Mr. Farrell, when you're off time, you can get a fan. Well,
Happy to volunteer.
Any other questions from the council? So, I have a question. Actually, if it's all right.
Another one?
Yes, I know. So the ask is two options. Where are the funds? Where are the funds coming from? How are we paying for this? Maybe Kelly, you could opine.
Yeah, so this evening we're looking for a consensus from the council to expend, I would recommend up to $20,000 from the ARPA fund. We have about $290,000 remaining in our ARPA fund once you take the $2 million out for water.
Mhm.
And the intention is to use those remaining funds for recreation, security upgrades at Town Hall, and other purposes. So that's what we're looking for this evening.
My question is why are we spraying mulch? Don't they have these machines now that I see at everybody's houses where they come out and they shoot the mulch all over the place?
Yeah.
So the different bids that we've looked into for that, the potential bids would have there's some that have machinery and there's some that do the spraying. So it just depends on which one we'd go with that range, who would be doing it, or if it's ourselves doing it on a volunteer basis, then that would be a whole different story. In general, it would be wheelbarrows and sweat of the brow.
See, I go to Shady Hill and I have them put them in the back of my truck and I pull up to the bed and I push it out of the truck.
Well, we were able to do that recently on a 1-ton, so it makes it easier. It does get it at least into the playground area, because if you've been over that way, it's not the most accessible in terms for vehicles.
Very true.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, whatever makes it easy.
What does the council want to do?
I think there's a lot of community energy around the playgrounds, and I think it's a good volunteer opportunity for people. I think this is something like Beautified Londonderry that really circles the community around together to really help out. So I'm okay with option 2, unless other people oppose. But that's my thoughts on it.
Let me push this question back to you. What are your thoughts about, as Kelly stated, the assistant town manager, authorizing from ARPA funds up to $20,000, but giving the direction of we would like to go with option 2, which is the lesser of the two, and hit the intent of what you're saying, having community involvement based on the feedback from soliciting the volunteer help, which thank you, Anne, for volunteering for this, being the first volunteer. But to hit your intent, authorize up to, if we don't have enough, they will be able to have the discretion. The town manager's office will be able, and the assistant town will have the discretion to utilize up to 20,000. But the guidance would be to stick with option 2. What do you think of that?
Yeah, then we're covered both ways.
That, and if saved materials or anything else arises more than what they've already received for quotes, that gives them the option to go up to 20.
John?
And the ARPA funds, those end this year, correct? That's where we have to spend.
They have to be spent.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, authorize council. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're not voting on it. Just consensus up to 20,000. Please put together a volunteer day. To spread would be the first option. If volunteer levels are low, I see 1 plus 6. That would probably be able to spread.
I'm too old.
So thank you.
Find a proxy, Mr. Farrell.
Young bucks can take care of it.
Mr. Farrell, you have a son-in-law, right? You can find a proxy.
You can go speak to him. He's a resident and pays taxes.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, folks. Moving on to Order 2024-06 relative to the withdrawal of the Fire Equipment Capital Reserve from the Fire Equipment Capital Reserve. Deputy Chief LeBlanc.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Kelly, good evening. All right.
My apologies on you missing.
No
the
worries.
recital.
It's all right. She knew that it could be a possibility, so we briefed ahead of time. That's good.
Thank you to her.
On behalf of the fire chief, we are looking to withdraw $99,942.47 from our tools and equipment capital reserve for the purposes of essentially completing 2 projects and then updating a piece of equipment that is now obsolete, and I'll get into that as we move forward. So the first project is outfitting our 4 firefighters, which we got through the warrant article. We're going to look to start hiring them July 1st. So some of this $99,000 will go towards providing each new firefighter 2 sets of gear, which is our standard for our firefighters, a portable radio. Each firefighter at the Londonderry Fire Department has their own portable radio. And originally, it was going to be, and that's why if you calculate the numbers that you have, it's higher than 99. Originally, it was going to be a mask and regulator for each one. But about 2 weeks ago, we did strategic planning throughout the department, and we realized that in order to keep a stock of 2 spare masks at each size and essentially 6 regulators, we only needed to purchase 2 masks and a regulator. So that brought the cost down on us, which was good. So that's the first project. The second project is to purchase hose and nozzles to finish outfitting our fire apparatus, which was a project we started about 1.5 years ago with quite a large tools and hose withdrawal. Due to supply chain issues, that project is slowly starting to wrap up as we're finally getting some of this hose in, and we realize that at this time, in order to replace the last few lengths of hose on our engine and our ladder trucks, we need to pull a little bit more money. So that would be also a continuation from the same manufacturers of that project. And then the last piece is our IV pumps that we use for medication delivery on our ambulances. We're looking to purchase 5 of those, which would replace all 4 of our ambulances and 1 for our ALS fly car when we implement these new firefighters. Our current pumps are 7 years old. They no longer can be serviced. The medication library inside the pump, which is where we update all of the medication and doses as the state protocols come out, that can no longer be updated. So essentially, and the New Hampshire state protocols for EMS just came out, or they go into effect June 1st of this year. So the newest ROLA came out, and those come out every few years. There are currently drugs in the new medications in the new rollout that are not in the library of our old pumps, and we have no way of updating them. So we're looking to purchase 5 new pumps. The great thing about these pumps that we're looking to purchase is they are in line with what Parkland Medical Center uses, so we'll be able to replace our IV pump tubing and hoses and all the parts and pieces at no cost because they're our supply hospital. Whereas before we had to order them ourselves and keep them in stock, we couldn't replace them at the hospital. We do attempt to replace a lot of materials that we use on emergency calls at the hospital. This would allow us to do that. So that's what we are looking to use this money for. If there's any questions, I open it up to you guys.
I will say I'm impressed with how much you're able to get done and replace with, in a way, so little money with how much this equipment costs.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it speaks to if we plan properly, we can make it work for us, and that's what we're really trying to do here. So the initial, for instance, the hose and nozzles, which unfortunately that is driven by textiles and commodities and things of that nature. That project is finally coming to an end, and we're finally getting that hose delivered that we waited so long for. And we said at this point, we really just need to finish this project, and our hose there is no standard on hose length per the NFPA, but we have a department standard of 15 years. Of course, we test it every year, so we're hoping we can get it all done now, and then we'll have the 15 years to plan on how this replacement will actually go into effect and not have to purchase 6 trucks loads worth of hose at once again.
Do you know what the potential delivery times are on these materials?
Bruce, do you know off the top of your head on that? BC Hallowell's been key in ordering a lot of this hose, so he has a deeper knowledge in.
So, if you remember the last time we came in front, the estimated ship time was about 6 months. It's been a really long 6 months. But the hose that you see on that quote is actually sitting in the warehouse in Maine, and they put it aside for us. So hopefully tomorrow morning, that hose that you have in front of you will be on its way to Londonderry. And as the deputy indicated, we're able to do a lot of the stuff that we're able to do because we're able to leverage our relationships. And Londonderry is a well-known organization, or Londonderry Fire Department's a well-known organization, and we're one of the bigger fire departments in the state of New Hampshire, so that helps us to leverage relationships for certain vendors, and that hose is going to be here very soon.
The color purple apparently is not a overly manufactured hose, and so our hoses are all color-coded specifically for what they're used for, right? And so our 2-inch hose is all purple, so that when you pull a 2-inch purple hose. But apparently the color purple is not chosen by a lot of other fire departments, so naturally they're going to manufacture lots of 2-inch hose at purple when they get enough orders. And so unfortunately, we ordered ours, and though we ordered a lot for us, it's not a lot to them. And so that was one of the things we had to sit and wait on. But like Battalion Chief said, they have that now in stock, so we're not.
Yeah, we the hose that we ordered, the part that we're still waiting for completion, is called Super 2, which is it's not supply line, it's a tack line. So it's the line that we drag into the building, and the thought process behind the unique color was because it's outfitting our what we call extended lay packages. So it's our hose that we would take into large buildings like FedEx, UPS, and we essentially create trails of hose into the building, The longer you go, the more friction loss. So this particular hose, which is one of the more cutting edge, I know it sounds kind of weird, but one of the more cutting edge hose packages you can buy, has become extremely popular. It wasn't popular when we were purchasing it. It's become extremely popular. It's the most popular hose now that this company is selling. It wasn't when we were selling it, so we were kind of pioneers of going with this attack package. And they said, what color do you want? And I said, I want it to look like nothing that we have, so that when they pull it off the truck and we're stretching this particular hose, we know that it's this particular hose. So purple is what we came up with. Hindsight being 2020, I probably shouldn't have gone with purple because it's a very unique color. But
stuck with yellow.
Yeah,
maybe.
yellow.
It's a novel idea, though.
Yeah,
But smart.
So it's a unique color because it's unique hose, and we were designing the package to be a unique package for the unique,
A lot of thought process went into this hose in that not only were we buying new hose, we were buying new hose that lessens the wear and tear on the men and women that are using it, right? So in past, you'd open a fire hose, and depending on what pressure they were pumping the truck at, it would beat you up. The way this hose is designed is it reduces the friction coming to it, so the person standing at the nozzle is not feeling the weight of it as much, thus allowing them to work longer in a work environment. So a lot of thought process went into this hose, aside from our color choices, but also just from the longevity of the hose and the men and women using it. And so that's why we're trying to wrap this piece of it up. So
leading into my lead time questions, communication's key for you guys. How long for the your communication devices from Motorola? When do you expect those to come in?
that's your Battalion Chief Magoo is our radio guru. He can.
In the meantime, is there any other questions from the council?
The IV pumps were.
I would like pink roses next time.
Pink roses. You
Pink
got it.
hoses.
Pink hoses. Pink hoses.
Pink hoses or roses, either one would be okay
All
with
right.
me.
What if you get both?
Well, as long as they're delivered.
The IV pumps we're buying directly from the manufacturer, so we're cutting out the distributor on that one. And with that comes with the purchase of those 5 comes service contracts with them. So that's included in the price.
Good.
Jeremy, what's the lead time for the Motorola's?
Lead time for anything radio has been pretty lengthy. We waited a long time for batteries.
Yeah.
We've waited a long time for chargers. But so I would say anywhere from 3 to 6 months.
Gotcha.
I can get a more definite answer, but we do have radios that we have as spares or whatnot that we can use that we have on the trucks currently. So when we hire our new personnel, we can lend those in the meantime, so we can have that.
And
stock.
how is the maintenance? Are they handling as well as you had hoped they would when we had
I've
gotten
had
them?
one radio that went out for physical damage, and other than that, we do regular maintenance, firmware upgrades in house.
Okay.
We've had some issues with some of the speaker mics that we've covered under a warranty process. We've paid nothing out of pocket to get those replaced. So it's been
We lose an antenna or two and a door from time to time.
So,
Am I doing these numbers right, including radios? Am I looking at $8,000 to outfit person?
I'd have to break it down. So
I'm looking at $5,000 for gear.
no,
and
that sounds
about
low. It's about
$3,000
it's about 5,000 a radio, and then
Then it's about $10,000 because I already broke the gear down.
yep,
So I'm looking at $10,000 to gear
yeah,
something.
that's about
Okay, so when I joined the council, it was about $2,200.
correct. And gear has seen a
Give you
10%
some
increase.
sort of an idea.
Right. But PPE has seen a 10% increase in price in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Right. So we're looking at an 80% increase.
Yep.
Well, more than that. 400% increase in in what it takes us to gear somebody.
Correct.
Okay.
And gear, unfortunately.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No,
I'm
no,
just saying that's what it is.
and unfortunately, gear has a life in it. It's got expiration dates, and then it also has wash use. So
Well, you guys remember when we were going to give the guys the used gear, right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys were probably the young ones. You were going to get the used.
that's probably what got used gear. Yeah.
Remember that town meeting?
I remember that meeting. I was there.
Yeah.
Remember that? We were going to get you. You guys were. Who was going to get the okay meat?
Yes.
All right. So is there any other questions from the council? With that, I'll accept the motion to approve ordinance 2024-06.
So moved.
A motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
$10,000 to gear somebody up.
$10,000.
Well, it's actually.
I'm not complaining.
No,
No,
it's
it's-
actually higher. I mean, we're to the point now where gear set is about 5,000. We give everybody 2. That's 10,000. Our radio's 5. Regulator mask, we're probably
Well,
close.
if I put the regulator mask and everything else in, I'm looking at like 6, and then the radio, so I'm at 11.
Yeah, you're probably.
No, I'm sitting here doing the numbers. I'm like, I can't. Well, you were here. We were doing it for less than 3,000 before.
I was just beating up the gear manufacturer the other day.
Thank you.
It's ridiculous what they're charging.
Good work, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service as well. Approval of minutes. So I'll accept a motion to approve. Are there any amendments to May 6, 2024 regular council meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve May 6, 2024 regular town council minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Approval of the unsealed non-public meetings. I do have one amendment. I did ask for a roll call vote during that non-public meeting, and the minutes did not reflect that. So are there any other amendments for those I'd like the minutes to reflect that. Are there any other amendments? Seeing none, I'll accept the minutes to approve May 6 unsealed minutes.
So moved.
A motion and a second from Ron. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Liaison reports.
I just need a correction to
Yes,
a
sir.
statement earlier today. So for the minutes, or a statement earlier today, State Rep Perez made a statement and inferred that the counselor who was here the longest, being me, that the charter was amended 4 times during my tenure. The charter was not amended 4 times during my tenure. I joined the council in 2010. The charter was amended in 2011 and 2020. So again, that was another statement of misinformation. Let's just be clear about something. The town council has a duty and a charge and a responsibility to complete its due diligence. What the council's doing with these warrant articles is doing due diligence, asking questions. You do things correctly one time, do them right, do them once, and complete them. These statements being made are not accurate. What we're doing is being thoughtful, transparent, and being due diligent, and doing what the people elected us to do. So I would appreciate it if you all don't feel that way and you just want to bypass the whole thing, bypass it. They're advisory. This is what we're supposed to do. This is the job. So would love to hear from you if you think we're doing this the wrong way, because it doesn't seem like we are.
Any liaison reports?
The Budget Committee had a good presentation by the town manager on 91A, and they also did a tour of the Lions Hall, which is good to get a fresh look at that.
Anyone else?
I get an update, Beautify Londonderry.
Please.
We had a meeting earlier today at 6 o'clock. We couldn't hold the meeting, but thanks to you guys tonight, putting the new person on, we can now have official meetings. So thank you.
I guess I will have a sort of a former planning board ex officio minute. We've had quite a bit of news on the Tesla development at the site, and I think it's great to see of the development happening. I find it funny people commenting this so late in the game when this was approved. When in 23 was it? When?
November of 23.
November of 23, and we've had multiple conversations before that as well, before it got going. So I'm just great to see the development coming and more coming to that region. And as the, I believe it was the New Hampshire Business Review had named Pettingill Road the next economic hub of the state, it's really coming to fruition. It's wonderful to see.
Any other liaison reports? All right, so before I move, I'm sorry, Assistant Town Manager report.
Just a few items for you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Old Mammoth Road, the stop signs. Stop signs have been placed, but are covered for the time being. You'll notice some pavement near the area of the senior center has been torn out. That's to prepare for another stop sign location. And message boards notifying the public of the upcoming change in traffic pattern are up. and that traffic pattern change will take effect June 3rd. The New Hampshire HOP grant that I referenced in my last report, we were awarded that money, which is a total of $50,000. These funds will be used to update and review our land use regulations, specifically as they relate to housing. So that was a really good piece of information to receive last week. And the council will see the resolution to formally accept those funds at your next meeting. And lastly, as was mentioned by Vice Chairman Combs, the planning board is quite busy. We have a lot of applications coming through. And in addition to that, we'll be starting the process to update the town's comprehensive master plan. So on June 5th, there'll be the first work session to start that review process with the board. So June 5th, we'll have just an initial conversation about what that process looks like and potentially forming a subcommittee for that master plan update. So
Perfect.
Lots happening in planning, but all positive.
Thank you. Going back to the council, any other stuff from the council? All right, I just want to close with a couple things. Just want to highlight just a couple things I heard tonight, and then I would like to talk about Memorial Day and Veterans Day and stuff. So I greatly appreciate all the hard work that our staff put into this community. It is often a thankless job. I heard, from the clerk's office, I heard comments about public access, and if it wasn't for DPW or those that volunteer for this town, we wouldn't be as great as we are. So I would like to personally thank all of our staff for all the hard work that you put in, police, fire as well, clerk's office. We do these trainings so that we can stay compliant with state mandates and regulations so we can have the most up-to-date training and be the best prepared to our community. So thank you to the clerk in your office for that as well. Also, Kelly, thank you for putting in that award, and congratulations on the award. Thank you again for doing something to better our community, to lessen the tax burden for things that we need. Memorial Day. So I wanted to apologize earlier. I know it was a little off regarding the Purple Heart recognition and just being vulnerable to the community. I failed to mention the two police officers who I had asked prior to the meeting if they'd feel comfortable to come up while we took a picture for the proclamation. So oftentimes I get reminded of times that I was overseas in a combat situation. I get thrown off a little bit. So that was during that time. So I'd like to also just show my appreciation to Officer James DeFelice and Officer Kyle Burt. Those are two gentlemen that came up. So thank you to them both, and also to our veterans for their service. So Memorial Day is that, a memorial, remembering those that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. I've lost a couple good friends. This community has lost friends and family. And let Monday remember those people that served for our country and gave their life for our country, for the freedoms that we have, for the freedoms for people to come here and hold the council accountable, for the freedoms to have us do better. And I'm open to be better. I love being better. I don't want to get worse. I think the council as a whole fights for that. And I appreciate the council. But it's not about the council. It's about those families that gave that ultimate sacrifice. So again, thank you very much. We are having one note I want to mention. I apologize for continuing, but just one thing I want to mention is August 7th of this year, we are doing an unveiling of the Purple Heart signs within the community. So we will welcome and we'll notice any other service members who have been injured in combat, an opportunity to be recognized during that. Monday, we have the Memorial Day Parade, and also followed by a cookout. The Memorial Day Parade starts at 11. Is that correct? And it'll go from...
Yes.
Thank you, John. It'll go from Sergeant Road to Glenwood Cemetery. So with that, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. We are adjourned. Thank you.